Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jen Jordan. I lead content and insight partners, and I also organize the Scale Up AI conference coming up on November 12th, which features keynotes from Ellie K. Miller and Andrew Ng. As a preview to this event next week, I am so excited to welcome founder and CEO Joao Moura from CrewAI and Michael Spiro from Insight Partners for a fireside chat today. During our session, we're pleased to offer you 35% off a virtual ticket for Scale Up AI. You'll see the code and address right there on screen. With that, please welcome our speakers to the stage. Over to you, Michael.
Thanks so much, Jen. Hey everyone, I'm Michael, an investor here at Insight Partners, and welcome to Scale Up AI Soundbites, an engaging series of AI-centric LinkedIn Live sessions featuring prominent leaders from the Insight Partners portfolio that are helping shape the future of AI. These talks set the stage for Scale Up AI, one of the first global conferences that brings together the top AI builders, executives, luminaries, and innovators. Insight Partners is thrilled that our portfolio company, CrewAI, is a scale-up AI partner this year, and that I have the opportunity to chat with the CrewAI CEO, Joao Moura, today. Maybe to kick off, Joao, it would be great if you could share with the audience more about your background and what brought you to start CrewAI.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Michael. I really appreciate being here and talking with, honestly, the Insight community and everyone that is super excited about Scale Up. I really appreciate. I gotta say, CrewAI has been quite a journey and quite an adventure. From kind of like early days with me coding away what would be the initial version of CrewAI, locked into a hotel room during my anniversary, and my wife was not very happy about that. All the way to now, we working with major Fortune 500 companies out there has been very interesting. But the honestly, the passion for AI agents and AI specifically came from my own experience. I have been in AI for many years, and I was building AI agents myself, and they're working so well that I wanted to automate my life away. And when I was trying to understand what was the best way to go about it, I had no other choice other than figure out a way for me to build this agent in a more scalable way. And that's how CrewAI came to be. It started as an open source project, and now we have people in Brazil, US, UK, Australia, and having a lot of fun along the way.
Amazing. And I think obviously, seeing the pain points firsthand and then going and building an open source framework and project and now, building the business around that is so exciting. For some of the, listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with AI agents, there's obviously a lot of talk of AI agents these days, but, what about the potential of these AI agents is so exciting, and how does Crew AI actually come into play here? What does CrewAI unlock for enterprises and developers?
Michael, I gotta say the potential is immense to the point that I'm a strong believer that AI agents are inevitable. And what I mean by that is the potential is so big that companies are gonna figure out how to make it happen. And if you look at the market, you see a bunch of kind of like things converging in order to allow that. But I think the major potential is because AI agents kind of like bring the LLMs that companies are already using, but kind of like on the edges of the organization, as kind of now a central player in these enterprises. So it starts from the center and cascade throughout the organization, allowing all these different departments to not only chat with these models, but get them to actually do work, to actually go out there and write reports, do research, fill documents, pull data, and everything in between. So we are seeing like some crazy results and savings in the like savings in like very high numbers. So it's yeah, it's a little insane when you think about the actual potential in the long run.
And as we think about, some of the past innovations around technology, right? If we look at disruptive categories like the internet that have come before us, what is the difference between AI agents and kind of this idea of multi-agent AI systems as a new category versus some of these other disruptive technologies such as the internet that we've had come before it?
That's such a good question because people are comparing a lot AI and AI agents with the internet because if you look, both are kind of like new categories coming up with big promises, causing a lot of new businesses to pop up. But I think there's one key difference that we already see in the market that sets it to be a very special cycle. And that is if you go back to the dot-com boom and everyone was telling you you should get online, you should have a website,
Mhm.
that would have zero impact on your bottom line on day zero. If you suddenly had a website, no one was in there. You wouldn't get new
Mhm.
customers. You wouldn't get like new revenue or any savings from that. But what we're seeing with AI is the opposite. It's like companies implementing AI and AI agents in one quarter and seeing results in the next. And that's kind of like, that's a little mind blowing. And it's almost interesting because you see some of these companies kind of like playing low and not sharing too much. Like, oh, don't tell anyone that we are using it. But some of the public companies got to share when you see kind of like Walmart's report a few
Yeah.
months ago with how much they are saving with AI. Yeah, I think it's similar in a few ways, but very different on how fast it is to get to value.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, and I think we're pretty early on to kind of this shift towards an agentic world, and companies large and small are already seeing a lot of value driven, and they're building workflows and automation, etc. As you actually think about the role of AI agents and Crew AI in particular around automation, would be great to spend some time sharing kind of how you think about that opportunity. What makes something, an agent or agentic automation versus a more traditional means of automation?
Yeah, I think when you look at traditional automation, I think like there's a few players that are kind of like well known in the space, like traditional RPA kind of like style. Like this was a lot of big promises. Everyone got super excited because now they would be able to automate other processes, but they fell short on actually delivering their value. A lot of these automations became very brittle. We're now listening from customers first-handed, like I have a lot of like RPA automations on SAP, but I will need to go to the HANA version, and everything is breaking. It's interesting because with agents, what you get is that ability to self heal. The way that these LLMs can basically not only reason, but if they meet a challenge or an error or a problem, they can work around it. They can be creative. They can try different options and they explore that. That basically unlocks some level of automation that was not possible before. So we're not talking only about like a new kind of automation. We're talking about automations that we're not even considering, and I think that creates an incredible space. And CrewAI specifically, I think what we are helping with that is we're making so simple and easy for companies to do these things. And in a market that's moving so fast, that is a superpower. You don't want to deploy X amount of resources for 3, 6 months to get something. You want to try everything that you can
Yeah.
and get to value so that you can double down. So yeah, it's an interesting market dynamic for such a new category.
And you obviously, started with CrewAI as an open source project. It became widely popular among developers for, helping build and manage multi-agent systems. You more recently actually launched your enterprise cloud offering, which, I think will be great to spend some time with. And, maybe if you could discuss a bit more about what the enterprise cloud product and platform really deliver, and what some of the use cases that you're seeing early users actually build, leveraging Crew AI and leveraging the capabilities that you unlock.
Yeah. So this is a good question. If you go back, and as I said, if AI agents are inevitable, what will define when they happen and how they happen? And for me, there's basically four boxes that you need to check for that future to become a reality faster. One of them is whatever you do needs to be enterprise ready. And that last mile is sometimes not even about AI. It's about security. is about
Yeah.
infrastructure, is about control. So I think that is something that needs to be done, and CrewAI Enterprise does it. The second point is you want to make sure they're universal. With all these companies building out those models, what we're seeing is a lot of garden solutions where you work within the walls. And honestly, you don't want to get a vendor locked into one model, knowing that these models are evolving so fast that it could be changing and experimenting with new ones. So this ability of being universal is another thing that we really thought through when we brought into this platform. So you bring your key, you bring your model, you run your own self-hosted if you want to. The third thing is that it needs to support complexity. And complexity here is because automations is always a consultative process. It's tailor made for the company, for an individual. So it needs to support that level of complexity, and CrewAI does that. And then the fourth one that I think is the biggest, the most important is, as I said, needs to be easy and fast. There's no sense in now you
Yeah.
adopting a tool that requires months for you to build something on, because that will completely slow you down when you're not going to keep up with the market. So I think the open source proved that we build something fast and simple, and that is a hell of an engine. Now with enterprise, we have the whole car, and that's kind of like how we talk about it.
I really like the analogy there, and in terms of what the differences are from an enterprise perspective versus an open source developer adopting the platform. Are there are a lot of crews being built today to help drive automation, to help automate certain workflows, etc. Are there certain crews that come to mind as great examples of what can actually be done or what can be built or automated
Yes,
using Crew AI? And I see you smiling, so maybe a few great examples are coming to mind
a
here.
1000%. So when you sell to enterprise, one of the perks is that there's a lot of NDAs. So there's a bunch that I can't share, but there are a few that I can. We actually did a course together with Andrew Yang a couple weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago. I don't even know time anymore, but we did that. And as part of that course, we actually flew in the CTO of Gen AI from PwC, and we interviewed them for like 10, 12 minutes where we talking about PwC is using CrewAI in production. Such a massive interest use case is around code generation and code development. It's impressive what they're doing there. And I think that the AI factory team now it's huge. I think it has hundreds of people by now, so it's a very interesting use case for them. But we are seeing use cases in legal where we're working with major telecom companies to help evaluate contracts so that lawyers already get the whole thing digested, forms filled out, a recommendation of next actions. We are seeing people getting help around logistics. So we are working with one of the biggest companies in the world around beverage, and they have a ton of logistic use cases, couponing use cases, SKU use cases. So it's impressive some of the use cases that we're seeing out there. It's cross vertical and cross horizontal, what adds an extra layer of complexity and fun to a business like ours.
And are there common traits associated, so to say, with successful installations and deployments of AI agents and of these multi-agent systems across various customer types and industries and so on?
1000%. If you look now, like there's a lot of people talking about AI agents, but it's early. It's early in the market. A lot of these companies they're not 100% equipped to think about their use cases, how assessing them, how deploying them. So there's a few things that we realized early on that they relate to how successful these use cases are and how fast they get to production, and that impacted the way that we build our company and the way that we recommend others to build their agents as well using CrewAI. So we now opted in for a forward engineer deployed model where we dive into it with the customer and we understand their needs and we help them build and we help them get there. And that alone is kind of like a huge difference because you get it from ideation all the way to implementation. So I would say that is one thing. The other thing is sometimes when we're pitching a use case internally, you can get some pushback. people are worried. People are thinking about automation and jobs and everything in between. And the companies that are having the most successful with that are the ones that are actually framing this as promoting people into managing the agents. So it's another tool on their arsenal that they can use. But the people are still responsible for packaging it up, to presenting, to verifying, to make sure that everything is all right. It is another trait that we find that helps these companies be more successful.
Makes a lot of sense across the board there. One thing that I've been really curious about, and I think we've spent a lot of time thinking through as a firm at Insight is, what does the future actually look like here, right? If we think about how much innovation and adoption of AI agents we've seen in a quite short period of time over the past several months, more holistically across enterprises, across individual workers and SMBs and alike. If we were to map forward what the future actually looks like as more enterprises are adopting agents and agents become increasingly embedded in our day-to-day work, in our processes and automation more broadly, maybe could you help paint a picture of what this future may actually look like and kind of how Crew AI can play a role here?
Yes, so we can like we're actually having kind of like a we are kind of like having an inside scoop on what that looks like, because on Crew AI we do a lot of like what people call dog fooding, right? We use our own product in a lot of ways. So we use a lot of automation, a lot of AI agents ourselves. So I can see how from other companies that I have built in the past and companies that I have worked with in the past, how this is different, how it allows you to take more bold bets in different aspects of your business that you wouldn't take, because there are certain things that can be taken care of, and how much you can do with less. Like, if anything, I think that has been the main difference for me. Like, I'm looking at my business and I'm thinking, all right, I can tell that I'm saving a lot of money in this because I can get more done with less people. Now, how I can deploy this extra capital to take chances and big bets that I wouldn't be taking otherwise, and where that would take me. So I think it has been very interesting, even from like the business growth side of things, having to handle things in a little bit of a different way. But yes, I think there's a few technical aspects and workflow aspects that are going to need to be figured out. All these agents in isolation, that's not going to last. Like, these agents are going to need like to talk to each other. They're going to need to exchange information. So there's going to be a lot going on. But according to our grasp on the market and our grip on the market, what we're seeing is that this year we were expecting to see a lot of POCs and kind of like tests, and that has been moving way faster than what we thought. We're seeing production use case being deployed on a weekly basis. Now, for next year, I think we're going to start to see more people kind of being vocal about the results that they're getting, and adoption should probably just grow from there. So I think it's going to be an interest changing dynamics, not only on the business level and how that means for executives to manage their business, but also on the day to day and technically how these agents talk to each other.
And it seems like, enterprises are really deploying AI agents in production and, maybe even moving here pretty quickly in some scenarios. And, I'd imagine as you touched on, as you're able to start to see and really recognize and, quantify what the ROI is from using these complex multi-agent systems, the adoption will probably only increase and you'll find more and more use cases and, really spread what the engagement and areas that agents can really cover are.
Yes, I think like honestly, if you look at AI agents right now, like they're not 100% accuracy. We're far away from that. So that means that a lot of use cases are still kind of like a little too far, right? You got to stretch a little bit to get them, and then you use human in the loop in order to do it. You use QA agents in order to do it. But whenever like people show up asking about accounting use cases where they want to get like 100%
Mhm.
precision, we don't want to mess
Yeah.
things out. We usually like we experiment with it and we see like if there are ways that we can like make things works. But these LLMs are not 100% right now. So things are going to definitely change as we go. And I think this is a major difference on how we're building our software. One of our other investors together with Insights is actually Out Capital from Sam Altman and the Altman family. And we got to spend some time with Sam Altman on a few months ago. And while we did it, one of the things that he kept telling us is these models are going to keep getting better, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
there's like a point now where we're not seeing the same jumps that we saw early on, but as new hardware is coming up and that unlocks people to be more creative about what they can do with this new hardware, you're going to probably see even more advances in LLM. So I think building for the future here and think about how I actually give these agents agency, and I'm
Yeah.
not just like designing graphs and nodes and regular if this then that automations. I think that is going to be crucial for long-term success on those implementations.
Yeah, the pace of innovation holistically across the industry, from the foundation model players all the way up to the applications, has been really incredible to see, and something that will likely only continue moving forward. Um, the team at CrewAI moves incredibly quickly to ship product and to iterate. It's been amazing to watch. I know that you're quite active on some social media platforms as well, Joao. If people actually want to learn more about CrewAI or learn from you and follow along the CrewAI journey, what's the best way to do so?
I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of building in the open. So even though as we're growing and things are getting very busy, I still share a lot of it. I'm very active on X, formerly Twitter. So if you wanna follow me there, you can find me as JoaoMDMoura. And you can also find me on LinkedIn as well. There's gonna probably be LinkedIn somewhere in here. And that would be the best way for you to tag along on some of the work that we're doing. But we are constantly launching new features. This is the most impressive team of people that I have ever worked with. I have built many teams in the past, but I gotta say, the group of people that we have working on this, I wouldn't choose any other over this one. It is an amazing group of people.
Amazing. Well, it was so great to have you here today, Joao. This was an awesome conversation. I really enjoyed it. And we're very excited to see everyone at Scale Up AI next week. I know there's a link below if you haven't gotten a ticket yet to do so. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having